Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, I'm going to be looking at the IT career landscape for 2022 and 2023 right after this. The Linux tech career landscape has always been something I've tried to do each year. I try to give you a heads up on some of the technology areas that you may want to explore if you're looking to make a move or to improve yourself in the coming years. So let's take a look at what employers are wanting from you. Uh, and there's a number of sources that I went to look for the answers to this, and one of them was in September of 2021, the Linux Foundation produced their open source jobs report and published it. So that's available. I'll put links to that. There's also the State of the Enterprise open source by Red Hat that was published back in February of 2021. There's also the Robert Half's salary guide for 2022, which will give you an idea on which jobs are paying more, which usually means that that talent is more highly prized by an organization or that the work is requiring a person of a higher technical caliber or management caliber, whatever it might be for that particular organization. The other thing is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation landscape has published. It's kind of a chart which indicates products that are fitting into each product space for cloud and containers. And that will give you some idea of what companies are using, and that might help you tailor some of the training needs that you might have in order to fill in gaps to be a cloud engineer or whatever. So I'll also publish links for that as well. The Linux Foundation they published this kind of a chart which indicates, these are kind of the areas that we asked the corporations about, and these are the response areas that we receive replies and how many of them responded in particular ways. So that's what we'll be looking at that in depth today. So kind of as an overview for the Linux Foundation, I pulled these two as kind of two areas that I thought were kind of critical. First is that 97% of those people that are hiring managers, this is what they said, they're looking to hire open source talent, and that's a priority for them. So if you have experience either in using open source or you have been a developer or involved with an open source project, you're a priority to get you on board to help them and implement this system into their environment. 88% of the hiring managers also said that they're prioritizing hiring certified professionals. That's a big change from last year. Last year, we were around 50-50 or so. So at that time, I said, I don't think this is all that important, whether you're certified or not. But I'm wrong for this year. I wouldn't go by that advice for this year because they are looking for certifications. And if you don't have them, you might get passed over or somebody else might get the job ahead of you that has the cert. So. But we'll talk about what kind of certifications they're looking for. So what are the difficulties that employers are having? So one of the difficulties is they're trying to decide what's the right mix between going back full on-site, or do I stay full off-site, do remote, or do I mix them together in some fashion in order to be able to have the right mix of people that are at the workplace each day, or they're finding also, well, I mean, the obvious answer there is that they have found that remote works. I mean, that they are able to remain productive. But they're also finding that burnout is more common among people that work in remote environments because they don't have that mental separation between work and home. So the balance between home and work life, that's falling out of the window. And so people are working longer hours. They're working strange hours. They're getting up in the middle of the night and going doing stuff because they can't sleep. And yeah, and that's creating burnout. They're finding that to be a problem. Also, in the hiring pool, companies are finding themselves in competition for a very limited set of people. And so, yeah, they're having to offer more. They're having to, do things in order to make the job offers more attractive and try to retain you once they do get you. And don't be surprised if you get an offer from several companies, you turn down two and take one, that those other two companies don't turn right around and offer you a counter offer. That has been going on, so don't be surprised if that happens. The other thing in the survey that I thought was kind of important is that, and it's not too surprising given how much I'm seeing on YouTube videos on Kubernetes. But since 2019, the demand for Kubernetes certifications has shot through the roof. It's somewhere around 455% increase this year over 20 and last year in 2019. So yeah, that's pretty huge. Also, 72% of the hiring managers are more likely to hire someone with a certification. So as you saw, 88% of them want certifications, but 72% are more likely to hire someone that already has one. And that makes sense. 3 out of 5 professionals have increased their usage of clouds over the past year. And given the job environment and climate, yeah, I can see that. That businesses have shifted their IT operations into the cloud so that someone else can manage the hardware while they manage the software and applications and security. 41% say that open cloud technologies is the largest impact on their hiring decisions. So if you have experience with open cloud technologies, they're going to be interested in talking to you. The cloud native landscape, this list of products. Now, products in this list are not all open source. They also publish information about products that are proprietary, like VMware and some of those. You'll find those in here as well. But it's a mix of open source and proprietary. But it kind of gives you an idea if you're looking to specialize in a particular portion of cloud management that, or cloud infrastructure or cloud systems or monitoring or whatever it is. It gives you an idea of what tools you're going to be expected to probably find for a particular customer. Although I think that this is a shotgun approach to your career needs, and I don't think this is necessarily the best one, but it might give you some inkling as to where you should start looking and maybe give you some familiarity with products when you see a corporation wanting somebody who's an expert in a particular product area. The other thing was last year in November, Red Hat published a survey of kind of the direction that companies are looking to fund in 2021. And at that time, security was the largest budgeting concern for them, where they thought that they would need additional budget in order to function. But you'll notice that IT and cloud management are high, cloud infrastructure, optimizing IT could possibly be cloud. IT automation could certainly fit in a cloud environment, can also fit in a standalone. But some of the areas where we saw more traditional growth in the past, enterprise integration, application development, analytics, and big data, those have kind of fallen down in priority because as they're trying to get their cloud infrastructure stood up. Now, will those come back? Yes. But right now, we've got to get the cloud up and running and get it moving. Where do these hiring managers see the growth? And the two biggest areas are in edge computing and IoT, and AI and machine learning, of course, are the two areas where they see the largest growth. Open source is occupying about 55% of the solutions in the edge cloud and IoT solutions today. And managers think that within 2 years will grow to 72% of the product set that they're using. That's huge. Considering what it was a few years ago. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is around 48% right now using open source. And they believe that that will increase to 65% in the next 2 years. So yeah, open source is definitely starting to get attention. It's starting to get some traction and starting to grow. And there's a number of reasons for that, and we'll talk about those at the end. What about certifications? What are employers willing to do? Well, 58% of them say that they're willing now to pay for your training, whereas in the past, no, they didn't want to pay for your training. They wanted you to pay for your training. So yeah, so that's kind of a shift over the past couple of years, and I think it has to do with this concern over once I get you, I need to retain you. The other one is 88% are not only willing to pay for your training, they're also willing to pay for your certification. So I'm sure that will have some retention clause in it. Yeah, I just can't imagine them wanting to certify you to walk out the door. Uh, the other one is 77% want that open source training, but they want it to be vendor neutral. So at least in that part of it, I was right when I said that I don't think vendor certifications are all that useful because all they do is train you in a product, which isn't really a value to a corporation over a length of time. So they're really looking for you to be certified in the use of and the how do you for example how do you deploy applications, how do you monitor the systems once the applications are deployed, what kinds of remedies do you take when you have a security breach or you suspect a security breach. Yeah, those kinds of things they're more interested in versus I need to have you certified in Azure, I need to have you certified in AWS. The other one is the other big surprise is that, well, I guess not really that big a surprise, but over half of the respondents said you'll be expected if you're an architect to include open source solutions in your architecture, which is a pretty huge change. I remember that we had limits of 10 to 15%. So yeah, that's kind of changing. So as far as cloud certifications are concerned, I am going to list the proprietary ones. And the reason I'm doing that is because even though the survey says that, the job listings that I looked at were looking for certifications in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So yeah, if you had one or more of those, they would talk to you. And then some of them said, but we are using this. So it would have, of course, a priority over the others. However, if you are looking for more vendor neutral, and I know some people have problems with the Linux Foundation, and that's fine, but I don't. And they do offer a number of training classes that are inexpensive. They offer more generic ones for a cloud engineer, advanced cloud engineer. So if you're looking for a broader set of certifications, they do offer one. If you're looking at Google Cloud, Azure, and AWS, of course, those are vendor specific. But what about container certification? So Kubernetes has a number of certifications. There's the certified Kubernetes administrator. There's a certified Kubernetes application developer. I think there's some others as well, but those are the two main ones. You can get that kind of certification training both from Kubernetes and Docker. They both offer it. As far as orchestration and provisioning is concerned, OpenShift is owned by Red Hat. They own the marketplace. It's theirs to lose. So yeah, they're about I think 43% right now on the market share. So they're pretty high up there, and they do offer certification training for a cost, and also the exam as well. So if you want to take that, you can do that through them. Uh, Docker, of course, is certified by Docker, and you can receive that training. However, I will caution you that even though there are people asking for Docker training, that is a declining market according to Data Ease. So that may not be as high a priority for you as maybe some of the other certifications, simply because you over time you're going to find yourself less and less valuable as Docker is replaced in the market. And I think there's a Data Ease gave a number of reasons for that. They asked, some of the respondents why is Docker on the decline, and a lot of them have talked about Docker's unwillingness to move to Kubernetes sooner. Now they have sort of moved in that direction, but for a long time Docker held on to Docker Swarm as their means of doing provisioning and scale. So that wasn't as attractive as Kubernetes is. So, yeah, so they kind of lost out in that market, and I think that's hurt them over time. There's some other issues. Docker's been dragging their feet on some of the other support. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they've put themselves in a hard place. I think they're still in use. They're still popular. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're dead. They're not. Um, as far as the DevOps side of things and the tools that you'll need there, Ansible is owned by Red Hat, and so your certifications will come from them if that's what you want to certify in. There's also Puppet, which is the largest. They have the largest market share, and of course, Puppet also offers certifications and the exam as well, as does Red Hat, the exam. I don't know what the number of questions are, but it's usually 60 to 100 or something like that. Uh, what should you do? So, if you're in a job field like you're in medical or insurance or accounting or whatever, I would look at the job postings that are in the field by companies around that space. So telecommunications would be looking at the cell companies or the land based companies as well, and determine what are they looking for. I mean, they're all looking for cloud engineers. I mean, I saw a number of them out there that today it was just huge, looking for cloud engineers and people that are cloud security based and so forth. So look and see what the postings are and in the areas around you, and also look at what are the qualifications that they're expecting and requirements. What certification requirements do they have? And that's where I said, even though the survey says they're looking for people that are more generic, that's not the case when you look at the job postings right now. They're not saying, oh, we don't care what open source technology you're certified in. But they do say things like, if you're certified in Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, that's fine. We'll consider that as meeting the requirement. However, they'll also say, but we prefer certifications in whatever it is, AWS or whatever. So the other thing is check the job responsibilities and see and that would kind of give you a flavor for these are the tool. This is some of the requirements of my job. This is what I expected to do. I know that if I have X, Y, and Z in my requirements, that I'm going to need some tooling in order to help me support that kind of requirement. So that'll give you some idea of what you're going to need as far as tooling to bring in, if they don't already have it. And then the other thing to realize is that this market is yours right now. In the past couple of decades, it's been all on the employer side. Well, that table's been flipped. You're now in control, and you're the one so don't be afraid to negotiate, because if they want you bad enough, they'll negotiate. Probably up to a point, but they'll negotiate. So, yep, it's definitely your market to lose. So that's all. That's all I had for today. I just wanted to kind of briefly go through the job market. I do this once a year and take a look at things. As far as where I see things going, I'll wait and do that at the end of the year, like I usually do. Kind of compare how I did last year with my predictions versus this year, but it's too soon to do that right now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the skill sets that people are looking for in the job market. If you did, please like and subscribe. Hope to see you all again in the next video, and bye for now.